Enough already, please release my mother-in-law. After retiring, my father-in-law began to monitor my mother-in-law around the clock for some reason. My sister-in-law and I tried hard to persuade him to free my mother-in-law, but unfortunately, my father-in-law was not listening. While we were struggling with this, my mother-in-law's health deteriorated, and she passed away. After the funeral, while sorting out her belongings, we found my mother-in-law's diary. The truth until the day before her death was written there. My name is Layla and I'm in my 30s. I live with my husband Thomas, who is 5 years older than me, and our 4-year-old son David. My parents live in a rural area, so I can only visit them during long holidays. As an only child, I don't have many relatives. On the other hand, my husband has one sister and one brother, so he has 3 siblings. Since my in-laws live close to us, we meet quite frequently. Among them, my mother-in-law Taylor and my sister-in-law Kate treat me like their real daughter and sister. We sometimes go out to restaurants and shop together. My mother-in-law is 65 years old, but she feels younger than other people her age, perhaps because she works. She has a similar sense to ours, and we always have fun talking to her.
Layla, your earrings are lovely. Can I buy something similar?
Of course. It will definitely suit you too. My mother-in-law laughed cutely and said,
If you say so, Layla, I'll buy it too.
I admire my mother-in-law for being so cute. My sister-in-law is a full-time housewife and has 3 children. She helps me with child-rearing advice, gives me hand-me-down toys and clothes, and is a very reliable person. My sister-in-law said,
If you have any problems, please tell me anytime. Layla is already my sister.
She always treats me very kindly. Although my mother-in-law and sister-in-law treat me very well, I don't have much interaction with my father-in-law Arthur and my sister-in-law Catherine. My father-in-law is a workaholic who works for a large corporation. He comes home late every day, but he was not in a managerial position and was just an ordinary employee. My sister-in-law is single and lives with her parents-in-law, but she often goes out for work or personal reasons. Therefore, we hardly ever see each other. Kate said,
I don't really understand what that child is thinking.
Since my sister-in-law said that, it might not be easy for me to get along with her. However, since she is my sister-in-law, I would like to get along with her if possible. Despite my feelings, the relationship between my father-in-law and sister-in-law has been deteriorating. When my father-in-law turned 65, he retired. He had been working all his life and didn't have any particular hobbies, and probably didn't have any friends either. I was wondering what he would do from now on, but apparently, he never left my mother-in-law's side. It may sound cute to say that he never left her side, but in reality, he was always keeping her under surveillance. He wakes up with my mother-in-law in the morning and starts monitoring her. He follows her around and watches her prepare breakfast, do laundry, and take out the trash. He just watches and doesn't help. He doesn't say anything, but being followed around makes it difficult to do housework. Furthermore, my father-in-law started picking up and dropping off my mother-in-law at her workplace. They leave the house together every morning and he comes to pick her up at the exact end of her workday. My mother-in-law used to take a detour and go for a walk after work to refresh herself. However, she can't do that anymore because my father-in-law comes to pick her up. The only time my mother-in-law can escape from my father-in-law's surveillance is during work hours, so it's a very cramped life.
Dad, why don't you go out somewhere once in a while?
Taylor suggested Arthur, but the answer was no.
There's nowhere I want to go alone.
He just follows Taylor around and doesn't have any hobbies or friends, so he probably doesn't need to go out alone. When Kate and I heard about Arthur's situation, we thought about how we could separate him from Taylor. So first, we invited only Taylor to lunch. However, Arthur came along on the day of the meeting. With Arthur there, we couldn't have a good time at a lunch party, and we couldn't even talk about half of what we wanted to say. In the end, after finishing the meal, my in-laws went home quickly. Seeing Taylor being taken away by Arthur, Kate and I sincerely wanted to do something to set her free. When Taylor has a day off from work, it becomes the most cramped day. Arthur still monitors Taylor, but it seems that he doesn't stay home all day. Taylor told me that Catherine also goes out with them when they go out. While being monitored, Taylor sends messages to my and Kate's group chat, hiding from Arthur.
Today, I went to lunch with Dad and Catherine. But I didn't feel very happy because they talked only with each other. Next time, I want to go to lunch with Kate and Layla, the three of us.
Let's definitely go to lunch together.
Mom, I'll talk to Dad. So please try a little harder.
I replied cheerfully to Taylor's sad message, and Kate replied like an older sister.
Thank you both.
Taylor thanked us, and I thought again that I wanted to repay Taylor for all the help she had given me. Afterwards, Kate protested to Arthur that Taylor also needed free time.
Free time? I don't intend to bind your mother.
In other words, Arthur seemed to have no awareness that he was monitoring her and didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
Where is Mom's freedom in this life? It's not even delicate to come to lunch with us.
Even though Kate said that, Arthur just looked unhappy.
And you pick her up from work every time, right? Mom cherished her walk after work. You don't even allow that. You're not thinking about Mom at all.
Kate said it quite strongly, but Arthur frowned and raised his voice.
This is a problem between me and your mother. You're just a child, you have no right to say that.
The conversation was interrupted by Arthur's outburst, and he went to his room. Kate and I were further troubled about how to resolve Arthur's stalker-like behavior. After Arthur started following Taylor around, 3 months have already passed. Kate, my husband, and I tried various things to free Taylor, but we couldn't change the situation. Recently, Taylor began to feel unwell. Taylor had been proud of her healthy body and never caught a cold, but every time we met, she looked more and more haggard and her complexion became worse. Taylor, I'll come to do housework, so please rest when you're not feeling well. I told her, but before Taylor could reply, Arthur spoke up.
Layla, don't say whatever you want. Your mother is supposed to do everything in this house. You don't even know the rules of our house, so you can't help.
Arthur even refused my offer to help.
Layla, I'm fine. Health is my only strength, so don't worry.
Taylor said after watching our exchange, but her complexion was still quite bad. After that, I was worried about Taylor's health and found time to visit my in-laws frequently. One day, Taylor was quite exhausted and looked so weak that anyone could see that she needed to be taken to the hospital. She was breathing shallowly and couldn't even talk, and her expression looked quite painful. We need to call an ambulance quickly. I immediately took out my phone and called 911. The ambulance arrived in about 10 minutes. When Arthur saw it, he shouted loudly.
There's no sick person in this house. Go home.
Arthur was trying to send the ambulance away. What was Arthur saying in front of Taylor, who looked so painful? I pushed Arthur, who was still making a fuss, aside and put Taylor in the ambulance. Arthur continued to shout loudly, so I went with the ambulance. After arriving at the hospital, I contacted my husband immediately. Since there were procedures to follow, I asked my husband to contact Kate and Catherine. Kate immediately messaged me, "Is Mom okay? I'm heading to the hospital now." However, it seemed that Catherine didn't reply to my husband either. When your mother is taken to the hospital, you would normally return the call, so I don't know what she was doing. As I became more suspicious of Catherine, my husband and Kate arrived at the hospital. Taylor was still being treated, so the three of us sat silently waiting. After a while, the attending doctor came out of the treatment room. We did everything we could. Unfortunately, she passed away. We were stunned by the doctor's words when Arthur and Catherine finally arrived. My husband said, holding back tears.
"Hey. You're late. Mom.
Catherine smiled.
Oh no. Did she die?
My husband replied seriously.
Yes, Mom just passed away.
Catherine was still smiling.
She really died. She always said that health was her only strength.
She said, imitating Taylor. I was angry at Catherine's attitude and was about to retort when Kate spoke up first.
How can you say that about Mom? We're here because of her. If you're going to make fun of Mom, just go home.
Okay. I'll go home even if you don't tell me. This place is so depressing and boring. Bye.
Catherine left, fluttering her hand, without seeming to care about Kate's anger. Arthur, who saw this, followed Catherine home.
Let's not get involved with those two anymore.
My husband said, and Kate and I nodded quietly. Many people came to Taylor's wake and funeral, which ended without any problems. I was very unhappy to see Arthur and Catherine sitting in the family seats as if it were natural. After a while, we started sorting out Taylor's belongings and found many memorable items. While tidying up the dresser and reminiscing about the fun memories with Taylor, I discovered her diary. I felt bad, but I was curious and looked inside. At the beginning of the diary, Arthur had not yet retired. Memories of Taylor, Kate, and me are written happily. As Arthur retired, the tone of the diary became bitter, and Taylor's stress at the time was evident. Taylor wrote, I can't get any alone time, and I wish I could go see my daughter alone. There were complaints about Arthur. Then, on the date about a month before her death, Taylor wrote, I've been feeling strange lately, it's clear that something is wrong, but I'm not allowed to go to the hospital, and if I collapse like this, what will happen to me? Worried words were written throughout the diary. Then, on the day before her death, shocking content was written in the diary. I was trembling, but I managed to call my husband and Kate and showed them Taylor's diary. After reading it, my husband immediately contacted the police. I had to protect the diary until the police arrived. In the midst of unbearable anxiety, I hugged the diary and hid. 10 minutes later, the police finally arrived. My husband and Kate went to the entrance and explained the situation secretly. Then they brought the police officer to where I was hiding and showed him the diary. The police officer read it silently, and when he finished reading the last page, his face turned pale and he trembled. The police officer went to Arthur and Catherine, who were sorting out Taylor's belongings in another room. They were quite surprised. Arthur shouted,
Why are the police here?
Arthur shouted and threatened, but of course the police officer didn't back down. The police officer calmly began questioning Arthur and Catherine. It says in your wife's diary that you have been poisoning her food since about a month ago. Is this true? Catherine strongly denied it.
What are you talking about? That's impossible. How could we have poisoned her?
Catherine vehemently denied it. The police officer said, it seems that your husband started preparing meals about a month ago. Your wife wrote in her diary that she was happy, but also wrote that the food tasted a little strange. Did you cook and gradually poison her to win her over and then kill her? Arthur and Catherine fell silent. Kate couldn't stay silent and spoke up.
How could you poison Mom? How could you think you could get away with it? You took someone's life.
My husband also raised his voice.
Why did you? Explain it properly. We and the police officer were waiting for their next words.
At that time, one of the police officers who came with us brought something. The police officer said, we found pesticides in the garden. This could be poison. When he showed it to us, Arthur and Catherine looked flustered. It seemed that they didn't know the word evidence tampering because the evidence was found so easily. Of course, the police officer saw through their anxiety, and they were taken to the police station. I wanted them to explain why they killed Taylor, but I would have to hear it later. When Arthur and Catherine were gone, the three of us were left stunned. I wonder if those two will admit to the crime properly. I was a little worried, but I heard that the police were excellent. If they really killed Taylor, I want those two to pay for it. Many things were revealed at once, and we were all thinking about it. We couldn't continue sorting out Taylor's belongings, so we went home for the day. The next day, the police contacted us. Arthur and Catherine admitted to the crime. They also explained the motive in detail. Arthur misunderstood that Taylor had someone else she liked and was trying to divorce him. So he monitored all of Taylor's actions to prevent her from spending time with that man. When I heard this story, the first thing I thought was who gave Arthur the information that Taylor had someone else she liked. Of course, neither I nor my husband nor Kate told Arthur anything like that. Besides, there was no one else Taylor liked besides Arthur. She told me many times when she was still free. Taylor said,
"When Dad retires, I want to move to the countryside and spend my time relaxing. I want to live freely with Dad."
I remember her shy and cute smile very clearly. I can't believe they suspected Taylor. As for Catherine, she was addicted to brand name goods and had accumulated debt. As a result of buying more brand name goods than her income could afford, her debt continued to grow. With no prospect of repayment, she asked Taylor for help. However, Taylor scolded Catherine severely and refused to help her. So Catherine decided to kill Taylor and get her inheritance to repay her debt. However, she thought it would be difficult to push Taylor alone, so she came up with the idea of using Arthur. In other words, Catherine was the one who fed Arthur the lie that Taylor has someone she likes. Arthur was deceived by Catherine and helped kill Taylor as he was told. After learning that Catherine was the root of everything, Arthur regretted killing Taylor, who had loved him for so long, with his own hands and cried. Even if Taylor had someone else she liked, Arthur had been watching Taylor so closely that he should have seen some signs. But Arthur couldn't believe Taylor and only believed Catherine's words. Even though Taylor had only loved Arthur all her life. Catherine's crime became even more serious because she committed murder for inheritance and suggested murder to her father. It is never acceptable to take advantage of people's hearts. As the remaining family, we want Catherine to pay for her crime for the rest of her life. Then we were surprised to see the legacy Taylor left behind. Taylor was apparently a very savvy investor and had an inheritance of an amount we had never seen before. Catherine, who lived with us, may have known this and committed the crime for the inheritance. Since then, I have continued to go shopping and eat with Kate. After Taylor died, there were too many memories of the three of us, and I sometimes felt sad. But when I remember how much Taylor enjoyed spending time with Kate and me, I feel warm. Next time, I want to dress up and bring the sweets that Taylor liked when she was alive and go to the grave with my husband and Kate. You can't live without money. However, I learned from this incident that money can change people's hearts too easily. I want to live my life firmly so that I don't become like Catherine. It was a very sad story, wasn't it? If Catherine hadn't planned to kill for inheritance, Arthur and Taylor would have lived a peaceful life in the countryside, occasionally going shopping with Layla, her husband, and Kate and having fun days. It's really regrettable. I thought Arthur was being mean because he was aiming for a divorce or didn't like Taylor, but it was the opposite and I was surprised. However, I felt sad when I thought that he was so jealous that he didn't even try to help Taylor, who was sick and weak. I realized that money, as well as love, can change people. What did you think of this story? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.